Welcome to episode 48 of our series on duties of the heart, and we're still in chapter 5 of the gate of wholehearted devotion of all acts, and we're continuing with this very comprehensive analysis of the evil inclination and its ways of entering our everyday lives. In the last episode, we looked at the way that the evil inclination attacks the learned person, the one who's already made a study of Torah and the oral tradition, and how it sneaks arguments into us and tries to compel us through our intellect. It ingratiates itself within us with convincing falsehoods, and then goes full whack once it has us kind of hook, line and sinker. So he's continuing now, and he continues, if, however, you see fit to assume, to whatever extent you can, additional duties beyond what is required, provided that you fulfill those that are obligatory, that your motive is love of piety, that your action is in harmony with your reason and has not the remotest connection with base desire, the resolution is good. You will be rewarded for it and in its undertaking. You do not deviate from the view of the early ones, for they have said, and he quotes Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers, make offense for the Torah. And also Baba Metzia 30b, why was Yerushalayim destroyed? Because they based their actions on biblical law and did not go beyond the strict requirements of the law. Said Rav Huna, whoever is involved only in Torah study is like one who has no God. As it says, for a long time Israel was without the true God. This is from Divrei Hayamim. And also from Avodah Zorah 17b, the inference is that without both Torah and acts of grace, one is without the true God. One of the pious once said, whoever does no more than his duty fails in his duty, but going beyond one's duty is acceptable only after first fulfilling one's duty. Our sages permitted us, even obligated us, to go beyond what is required. As they said, we add from the profane to the sacred, this is from Yoma 81b, to assume additional fasting, prayer and almsgiving, and to refrain from overindulging in permitted but superfluous foods. They cautioned against swearing in God's name, even in regards to the truth, talking too much, even if one speaks no falsehood, discussing other people's affairs, even if our remarks are not disparaging, praising someone extravagantly, even if he deserves it, speaking contemptuously and loathingly of those who fall short in their observance, even if they deserve such treatment, and many other similar matters. It is now proper to illustrate this second kind of temptation with examples from which the rest of the cases may be deduced, so that a person may be wary of them with God's help, but by knowing them, because for every form of good there is a scourge that can destroy it. Whoever knows of the various afflictions that undermine right conduct will know how to avoid them, but he who knows only the good will not retain any of it, because of all the ills that beset it. One of the pious used to instruct his disciples, first learn what is evil in order to avoid it, and then learn what is good and do it. As Scripture says in Yirmiyahu chapter 4 verse 3, plough up your unploughed field, do not sow amongst the thorns. And he quotes Ravan Yochanan ben Zakkai said, in regards to fraudulent weights and measures, woe to me if I speak of them, and woe to me if I do not speak of them. If I speak of them, cheats might learn of them. If I do not speak of them, the cheats might say, the Torah scholars are not familiar with our practices. Later the question was asked, did he speak of them or not? The answer given was, he did speak of them, basing his decision on the verse in Hosea 14:10, for the ways of gods are straight, and the upright walk in them, but transgressors stumble in them. This is quoted from Baba Basra 89b. I say then that if the evil inclination fails in its attempts to raise doubts in your mind on all the points mentioned so far in this gate, it will argue with you about them, citing objections and proofs. in order to discredit your true notions, when you perceive the falsity of its position and the weakness of its arguments, so that it cannot stand up to you or disprove what you know to be true and correct from what has previously been mentioned in this gate. It will then try to tempt you and cause you to err in your own soul. The evil inclination will say to you, I am happy that you have reached such a state, that your faith is strong and your heart is undivided towards God. You have already attained a degree of piety unequaled by anyone else in your generation. This is more than enough for an expression of gratitude to the Creator for his kindness and grace. You should also conduct yourself so as to fulfill some of your obligations to human beings. For, as you know, they can further your interests or bring you harm. And as you have found out, and if they are pleased with you, you will have honor, but if they are angry with you, you are headed for oblivion. You should therefore try to do what will please them, so as to win their favor. As our masters of blessed memory said, anyone in whom the spirit of his fellow creatures takes pleasure, the spirit of the omnipresent takes pleasure. And Rabbi Bahya is bidding us to answer this Yetzer Hara in this way. What good will it do for me to find favor with one who is as weak as I am, who does not have the power either to help or harm me? As Scripture says, forget about man whose breath is in his nostrils. For of what account is he? That's from Yeshayahu chapter 2 verse 22. Even if such a debt did exist, how could I satisfy all my contemporaries when I cannot satisfy the members of my household, much less other people? As to what you quoted from the sayings of our masters of blessed memory, it does not imply an obligation to attempt to please all people. Rather, its meaning is like what one of the wise men said to his son in his will. My son, it is impossible for you to win the favor of all people. Try rather to win God's favor, and he will make you pleasing to people. As it is written in Proverbs 16 verse 7, when God is pleased with a man's ways, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. Moreover, if someone is admired and praised by all people, young and old, and his deeds are pleasing to them, this is proof that God, may he be exalted, has sown love for him in people's hearts and given him the good name that is on their tongues. It is something that the Creator does not do for those who hate him. It is clear and powerful proof that God is pleased with this person, but that a pious person should strive and labor to gain the praise of men for his service of God is not in accord with the code of conduct of the pious. Beware, therefore, of this and other such attempts of the evil inclination to entice you, for it seeks to lead you along this road until it has brought you down into the trap of hypocrisy. When it praises you, answer it as follows. What is it that you commend me for? That I am aware of my obligations to God? On the contrary, this is a claim that God has against me, since I failed to act in accordance with my awareness. And even if I were to do so, would all of it be an adequate expression of gratitude to the Creator for the smallest of his favors towards me? After all, what is the measure of my days compared to the measure of the days of the universe? Yet not even all of those would be time enough to tell the Creator favors towards me. How much less, then, is it possible for me to repay what I owe to God? As it says in Scripture, in Yeshayahu, all flesh is grass, and all its goodness is like the flower of the field. From Yeshayahu chapter 40 verse 6. And as our sages of blessed memory have said in Ethics of Our Fathers, chapter 1, verse 4, Mishnah 14. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? But when I am for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? When the evil inclination despairs of enticing you this way, it will try to entice you from another angle. Love of praise and prestige in this world. It will say to you, I am happy that you serve God, that you trust in him deeply and rely on him in all your affairs, and that you have freed your mind from the thought that any creature can help you without the Creator. You are indeed one who trusts in God truly and wholeheartedly. However, it is not right that you conceal from your fellow men the high degree of piety that you have attained. Now that you have attained mastery over yourself and have overcome your passions, it is proper to show your deeds to people and reveal your heart to them. This way you will be honored by them in this world and will leave a good name amongst them. As it says in Yeshayahu chapter 56 verse 5, I will give them in my house and within my walls a monument and a name, better than sons or daughters. And also from Shemuel chapter 7 verse 9, I will make you a great name, a name like the great ones in the land. Moreover, this is the Yetzer Hara talking. Moreover, people will learn from your conduct, and you will be rewarded through them. Therefore, do not hide from them your deeds, except those that it is impossible to reveal and to show to other people. You will have honor and prestige in this world, and goodly reward in the world to come. Rabbi Bachya tells us to answer it as follows. How will men's praise and the good name I will have among them benefit me, conscious as I am of my inadequacy in the fulfillment of my obligations to the Creator? What benefit is there to me in the honor and respect they show me, when it is not within their power to help me or protect me from harm? In this regard, they are no different from the plants or the non-rational animals. Moreover, if I make this the motive of my actions, I may not succeed as I had intended in winning people's favour. They may form the impression that I am hypocritical in my actions and consider me worthy of nothing but contempt and shame. In that case, I will have spoiled my deeds by not intending them for God's sake, and will have failed to attain what I had hoped to receive from people in this world. A king was once asked, "How did you enjoy the reading of so-and-so?" The reader had a sweet voice and was expert in correct accentuation. The king replied, "How could I enjoy his reading when his sole intention in reading it was to please me, so as to find favour in my sight? Had he intended it solely to please the Creator, then it would have been sweet to me." The same is true of those who lead the public prayers and cantorial performers of new liturgical hymns. If their intention in their prayer is to find favour with people, rather than with the Almighty, such prayer is not acceptable to God. Say further to the evil inclination, "It may be that I receive honour in this world for my deeds. Nothing will be left of me in the reward for them in the world to come, since I received it in advance in this world." The story is told of one of the pious who went to the marketplace to purchase a certain item and entered a tradesman's store to buy it. A neighbour said to the storekeeper, "Yield to him and comply with his wishes, for he is a devotee of piety and the Torah." The pious one said to him, "I do not need your favour. I came here to buy with my money, not with my Torah." He refused to buy the article from the merchant and sought it of another who did not know of him. As to the verse you quoted, "I will make you a great name," fame is one of the things that human beings aspire to in this world, like riches and honour, which the Creator bestows upon his servants when his wisdom so dictates, as it is written in Kings chapter 3 verse 13, I give you also what you did not ask for, both riches and honour." And also from Proverbs chapter 3 verse 16, "Long life is in its right hand, and in its left are riches and honour." The pious, however, are not motivated in their actions by any of these things. Their intention rather is for the sake of the Creator, who bestows these gifts on whomever he pleases, those devoted to his service and those who are not, believers and non-believers, as his wisdom dictates. As it says, "Riches and honour come from you." This is from Divrei Hayamim, chapter 29, verse 12. Furthermore, even if I were to enjoy universal fame, what is this world? Even if I were to become world famous, what is the measure of my days? How much less value is there in fame, which, widespread as it may be, will reach only a small part of the civilized world, endure but a brief while, and then be forgotten as though it had never been. As it says in Tehillim, chapter 62, verse 10, "Human beings are mere breath, mortal men but an illusion. Put them all on a scale, together they weigh less than a breath." And from Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 11, "His breath departs." From Psalms 146, "His breath departs, he returns to the earth." And from Ecclesiastes 1, Verse 11, there is no memory of the earlier ones. This being the case, it would be an obvious degradation and a shameful error on my part to preoccupy myself with the world and make it my aim. It is related that one of the pious asked another, do you possess equanimity? And he asked, in what sense? Are praise and insult equal in your eyes? And he replied, no. Then you have not yet arrived. Make the effort. Perhaps you will reach this level, for it is the highest level amongst the pious and the most precious of virtues. When the evil inclination despairs of enticing you along these lines, it will try to ruin your religious practice by occupying your mind with this world and its people, with your endless desires through disregard of your latter end. So I think we're going to stop there today, and very interesting instruction from Rabbi Bahya, and very, very true. We must always remember that our acts as servants of God should be performed with humility and with one aim, that it's directly aimed at God and not in order to curry favor or to make a name for oneself, because you can suddenly get overtaken by an inflated ego for your efforts. And once you have an inflated ego, that ego wants to be fed constantly, and you suddenly turn in from a servant to a hypocrite, because you're now performing for the general public and you're not performing for God anymore. And this is what Rabbi Bachya is trying to convince us to avoid falling into this trap of seeking honor, and so the next episode will deal with the idea of avoiding the temptation to serve God without the proper intention. So I look forward to delivering that.